Speaker. The Volkswagen scandal a couple of years ago was, of course, a terrible blow to the automotive industry. But few people stopped to ask how it was that we'd got to the stage where the European Union was pushing for diesel fuel, which had throughout our lives been regarded as the filthier option, rather than doing what the rest of the world was doing, which was moving towards electric and hybrid cars. But we now know the answer. It happened because of a brilliant lobbying operation by Volkswagen and other car manufacturers that had discovered a new form of turbo engine. The result was literally fatal. We don't know how many people died as the result of pushing diesel, because the death certificate will not show diesel. It will show heart failure or pollutants getting into your brain. But the impact was that because of corporatism, because of crony lobbying, people who would otherwise be alive today are now not. The system, in other words, is not only corrupt and oligarchic, it's literally murderous.
In the European Parliament in Strasbourg recently, I met a very clever man from Nigeria called Thompson Ayodele. And he talked me through a number of statistics on foreign aid. And the figures were pitilessly clear. He showed that international assistance was not useless. It was actively harmful. If you compared countries in receipt of it with countries not in receipt of it over the same period, the countries not in receipt grew faster, were more democratic, developed more impressively. And for the obvious reason. Foreign aid breaks the link between taxation, representation and expenditure. It allows governments to remain in office without the support of their populations. There are lots of things we could be doing to help developing countries. We could open our markets, we could abolish the common agricultural policy, we could encourage their exporters to sell. But the one thing that is absolutely not going to help is giving this kind of assistance, especially when we don't have the money. This is the crazy thing. We're borrowing money we don't have in order to give it to countries whose situation will thereby be worsened, all in order to make ourselves feel virtuous. The title of this report is A Satirist's Dream, closing the gap between anti-corruption law and reality. I could fill my 60 seconds talking about the 18 years' worth of unaudited accounts, or the bazillions that are squandered on agriculture and foreign aid boondoggles, or the Tillack case where instead of any of the alleged fraudsters being arrested, it was the journalist trying to find out about them who found himself banged up by the police. I could talk about the £6.6 million spent last year by European commissioners simply on entertainment and luxury gifts and hotels. I could talk about the wonderful spectacle of President Van Rompuy and Commissioner Ashton flying to the same meeting in Russia in separate private jets, leaving Brussels within 4 hours of each other. Instead, I'll confine myself to saying this. These things happen not because the EU attracts particularly bad people. I mean, of course, it attracts some bad people. Man is fallen, and like all institutions, it contains those who give in to temptation. It happens rather because there is no link between taxation, representation and expenditure at Brussels level. It was Milton Friedman who said there's two kinds of money in the world. There's your money and there's my money. The trouble is that in the EU, it's all your money. Hence negligence, corruption, fraud and what we see before us today.